I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen. And our future is uncertain.
Would be honored if you would join us.
You were my brother, Anakin! I loved you!
Do or do not. There is no try.
Watch your left! I can't shake him! I'm hit! I'm hit! Where's the reinforcements?
Breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Ahsoka.
I won't leave you. Not this time.
This is the way.
Long have I waited, and now you're coming together.
What's up, folks? We are here defending the galaxy against traitors, even traitors who are on this podcast or listening out there. But welcome to episode 2 of Across the Galaxy with Jedi Master Arcord. And I'm trying to figure out what to call Trevor because I'm not sure what side of the galaxy he's on just yet. But Trevor, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, John. I think, we'll probably figure out something for my name as time can go across. But, maybe the fans can come up with something unique. I think let the fans decide what my name should be. But at the same time, I should be worried about letting the fans select my name for this.
Yeah, remember, you just make sure you don't get a bounty on your head like a certain other Jedi is, because then you're pretty much screwed at that point.
I feel like what you would do, John. I think you would just take the bounty and put it in my name. Like you have my name and then put like the Star Wars credit symbol and then like how much I'm worth. It's like how we had on like MI6 on like the wanted poster, but make it like Star Wars theme.
It'd be like billions and billions of credits. So he's wanted. So I'm not sure who's going to get him there, but it is now your turn. And Callums has a name, I'm not sure, but we'll just have to go from there.
All righty. I know we're getting underway with the Kenobi trailer that dropped on May the 4th, but now we're going to break it down. And I know, John, you got some good snapshots of it, so I'll let you go away, bring up the first image or clip that you have for us to look at.
When I got the text or message from Chrissy saying, "Oh, there's a new trailer," there's no freaking way. Obviously, May the 4th, no shocker. This one here, I think, Trevor, and you can give your thoughts first. This definitely tells a lot of what Obi-Wan has been holding on to, the guilt and everything. This, Trevor, what do you think is going on through Obi-Wan's head up until this point and to now what it looks like he is facing Anakin, a.k.a. Darth Vader?
It's really hard to say where this where he's currently located. Looking at the background from what we can see, it's very blurry. It looks like it's a hallway, some type of sorts. But then if you look to a little bit of, my left-hand side, or where you can see looking like cargo nets, he looks like he's in a hull of some type of vessel. Hard to say, but like you said, John, he may be confronting Darth Vader at this point. But at the same time, this is going into the point where Obi-Wan, it looks like from the trailer, was captured. We don't know where he was taken to, but there's probably a few speculations to where he could actually be.
It looks like to me, and I could be wrong, we talked about before the show, there's the thing, folks, if you haven't played the game, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and it talks about in the show too, where they have these underwater areas where Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitors are. And I have a theory, again, I don't know, pretty much at this point it's just speculation. Either he maybe not necessarily gives himself up, but maybe tries one last shot somehow into the dark that there's something left in him, that he's not too far gone. Padme tried to do over and over, no. There's good in him. There's good in him. Now, obviously, at this point, he's more machine than man, but that's for another discussion at the time. But it looks like he got obviously captured, but I don't see. I think he got captured. I don't think he gave himself up because later in the trailer, you see him in it like a prison suit and another character that people thought, oh, it was Darth Maul. It was Darth Maul. This is said that Darth Maul's not coming back into it's not in the show. So I wonder if this is right before he gets put into prison. But past that point, to be honest, I don't know what is going on through Obi-Wan's head besides pretty much that ton of guilt that he has for pretty much quote unquote failing Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't know the suit that is Anakin Skywalker, but he can sense it, like how in I guess in Rebels where Ahsoka sensed Anakin, but like just the connection of it. So he's getting that feeling, but maybe at the same time, he doesn't know that Anakin's still alive. But with that Force sensitiveness, I think he's probably sensing that in this exact moment because it looks like he's in like a head scratching moment. He's like, I felt this before. I felt this presence, but it's also very dark and cold at the same time.
That would have to make sense, especially with him having the uneasiness with the Force, which is why they separated Leia and Luke at birth, just so Darth Vader wouldn't be able to reach in the distance and have the Force be, okay, Luke's over here, Leia's over here. He knows Anakin became Darth Vader, so to speak, when we see at the end of episode 3, or towards the end, as Order 66 is about to happen and Palpatine reveals his Golden Girl skin, that he sees that Anakin is introduced as Darth Vader. He sees him at the end at Mustafar, where he tries to fight him, says, oh, Anakin at the high ground. Anakin in his anger thinks it has all the power, he gets killed, quote unquote, and at that point, Obi-Wan thought, and I could be wrong, I'm not obviously a Jedi, obviously that's a shocker to people out there. He was too far gone, even if he wasn't mentally, physically. Obi-Wan thought there's no way that he's alive. We know he was already introduced as Darth Vader, but there's no way that he's alive. But at this point, after living with all that guilt and all that shame, partly not necessarily because of his fault, but it's easy to fall into manipulation when you're not in the right emotional space as Anakin was. I just can't imagine what's going through what's going through his head, because at this point, it's not going to be like a simple reunion. This goes back to the poster. Like, I'm not sure like what episode or what point they have their fight, but I have a funny feeling at some point they're going to pull the Book of Boba Fett route. Not in terms of the show. Book of Boba Fett, that's a hit and miss. In terms of these certain characters, like we have no idea that this character is going to be shown, this character is going to be on the show, but it'd be curious to see past characters and bring stuff into new. But yeah, I just can't imagine after 10 years getting to reunite with Anakin Skywalker. There has to be, I think, a lot going through his head, but I think there's more trauma going through Anakin, or what is left of Anakin Skywalker in his brain.
Oh, for sure. I know we can probably even add more to this one image alone, but there's so much to this trailer. Oh, excuse me, that we should move on to the next one.
Definitely, for sure. This next one, Trevor, I screamed like a little girl. The love of Star Wars, every time I've watched this trailer so many times, I'm just still smiling every time I see this. Just not just the anticipation, but your thoughts. So you see Darth Vader in his official return. You saw Rogue One, but in terms of the timeline and everything, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, getting rebuilt, reconnecting with Kenobi. How did you feel when you saw this, and how do you think this really plays into the series in the Star Wars cinematic universe?
Well, I guess if you look at the Darth Vader figures throughout the trilogies that we have, it's his chest plate. I would say maybe there's very few alterations through the years to come. Like this one's different from like episode 4, maybe slightly even different from Rogue One, but it goes into, I would say, the fact that the Emperor was using Vader a lot to explore the galaxy and hunt down the remaining Jedi. So he may be in different confrontations where he may lose a limb or his suit gets damaged. and the Emperor keeps adding upgrades to make him a better and stronger fighter, as well as maybe improving his force capabilities. So this is kind of showing that it's like the Emperor is always adding modifications to Vader to make him this most feared human being known into existence.
It would have to be, because I think we talked about this before. I believe it was episode 5. I think I could be wrong, where he's in this little circular type of thing where it hurts him heal. But I didn't know this. I never get a chance to read. There's a book that came out probably a year or so after episode 3 came out, which is right after episode 3 turns to the timeline. And it explains all these different things that helps Anakin stay alive. Put these needles and everything through his brain, and even then, it's still painful. So I wonder, when we see these different iterations of the Darth Vader helmet and the costume, that they're trying to help his lifespan, even though at the same time, something that's helping him live initially is still causing him a lot of pain. Because you see him with the hand coming back on. So I wonder how many iterations we go through, either in this show or throughout the Star Wars universe.
And think about most of the time when Vader goes out to hunt, the remaining Jedi, there's always a Jedi Master and their Padawan. And most of the time, the Jedi Master can actually put up a good fight and obviously damage Vader's suit. But at the same time, we just seen him, even looking at the other Star Wars video games, like Force Unleashed example, his suit gets battered and destroyed. So it hints that Vader is not invincible, no matter how good of a swordsman he is in the Jedi aspect. There's always somebody who can best him, and his limbs are just not the same as actual human flesh. So there's probably some drawbacks, but you think him being a cyborg for this long, the Emperor could give him some limbs that are faster than human reflexes, but that's not the case.
I wonder if those limbs and those things that they're given makes them faster, but at the same time causes so much pain, which would slow him down. Then you have to keep improving that to make him faster. And it's at some point, even though it's helping you live, it's the same thing that's causing you more pain than it is helping. Which at the same time, it's really not helping. Because at some point, he's pretty much burnt. He's a burnt chicken nugget. I mean, at this point, you're pretty much like that burnt chicken nugget you had at McDonald's as a kid. So he's pretty much gone there. But we'll get to some comments here. Colin McClurg will come up with his Jedi name, if he is a Jedi. We'll find out here. Says, good afternoon, gents. What's up, Callan? And Trevor, he has a name for you. We don't have to stick with that. Hey, Mace Williams. Oh, man.
Well, it looks like I need to go to Disney and build a purple lightsaber at that point.
Hey, if y'all want to set up a GoFundMe, put it down below. We won't say anything about that, but hey, GoFundMe for that. I didn't. Sorry,
Fund our Disney trip. That's what we keep saying.
Grogu used the Force to trick my mind, so I blame Grogu. He's sitting right here, so we'll go there. Christy Wilson says Obi-Wan is probably sensing that it's Anakin. Definitely for sure, especially as he hasn't seen him in nearly 10 years in the suit. He just isn't 100% sure that it is him. I think that right there, I think, is a really good quote, because he's hoping it's Anakin. He feels the Force is that it's Anakin, but yet maybe at the same time the Force can trick us, just like we saw in the Clone Wars multiple times. You think that it's this, or we see in other movies, oh, it's the Force. Really, it's just your mind tricking you. Or you saw in Episode 3, oh, I can help save Padme. It wasn't the Force. It was the Force, but it was also the Force using Force manipulation. Don't know if that's the right term, but I wonder, though, Trevor, what his thoughts, like Chrissy says, he isn't 100% sure. I wonder what his reaction would be in whatever episode they meet when he finally realizes that this is fully Anakin, Anakin's still alive, and after what he went through, what Uncle Owen said to him. I'd be kind of curious to see how that plays out and how John Williams does this thing in that scene.
Oh, for sure. I think there's one or two possible, scenarios I can see. There has to be a fight, and I feel like the Vader mask will probably be broken again, like how we saw in Rebels with Ahsoka. That's what I could see, but that's the only way for him to truly know that it's Anakin. Besides that, if you don't take off the mask, he won't know, and he'll be forever left in question. But they met, and I feel like there's going to be a line that's going to be said by Darth Vader that's gonna hint that Obi-Wan's mind is gonna be blown. It's like he's still in there. There's gonna be something that triggers something, and we're just gonna watch Obi-Wan's expression change, and that's when he knows it's Anakin. But I don't know what that's gonna be.
They have to have that moment. Let John Williams do this thing. Hit the heartstrings, hit the emotions of 17 years in the making. Seeing full depth Anakin again, especially what we saw with Ahsoka. I told you, Trevor, I'm not ready for that scene. And the same thing goes for next Friday. I'm not ready.
Oh, I think I might know.
Sure.
Because so when you get captured, right, based on like the image that we have showing Obi-Wan looked like he was captured and all that stuff, the Jedi normally gives up his lightsaber, right?
Right.
So at the end of episode 3, Obi-Wan takes Anakin's lightsaber. So that might still be on him. And Darth Vader is going to take that lightsaber, ignite it. Like, I remember this. This is mine type of moment.
Dude,
and that's what's gonna trigger all these flashbacks that we're gonna get. I wouldn't say flashbacks, but that's what I think. That's what I could see what the writers do. I wouldn't be mad if they did something with that.
Dude, you're not wrong, because it's not necessarily a replica of the Clone Wars scene, but it's the scene where it's something that's very familiar. That was given to you, to Ahsoka, to Anakin, and it was taken away towards their death. Imagine the heartstrings and emotions. I think honestly that would break the internet. Thankfully, when the first 2 episodes come out, I am not working that day, so I can get a therapy session in on that Saturday. But definitely can't wait. But Christy, you have to come up with a Jedi name. Hopefully, you're not to the dark side. Just don't trick us like certain people did in the Empire. I mean, the Senate. But whoever is the Senate at this point in time, the Intergalactic Sports Entertainment Network says, if you read the books, which I did, I'm not sure if you had a chance to when you were a kid, Obi-Wan would have dealt with Darth Vader before Anakin. You know, Tim, people have talked about this, and the age difference, and this is why they were never, I think, Trevor, a good match. Anakin and Padme. Padme was an enabler. Anakin was a manipulator. Those two do not go well together. And imagine trading this young Jedi, already knowing he already broke the code. So what is the point of trading this Jedi? Knowing he's already broke the code, he's already going to be breaking more codes, even though Obi-Wan technically did. That was in the Clone Wars. Because wasn't Anakin 18, 19, I think, when they married or got together? And she was in her early to mid 20s. I could be off on that stuff, folks. Don't quote me. I'm still trying to get that figured out.
Somewhere around like that, John. But I think it's as those two Jedis grew closer to each other, Obi-Wan and Anakin, it's like they had, a brother relation, like a sibling relationship. They grew up together. They went through a lot together. They went through a lot of battles in the Clone Wars together. So at that point, you're bound to be attached to somebody going through thick and thin throughout an entire war like the Clone Wars has. And you're just going to grow attachments to them. And you kind of break the Jedi code that way, but some people can't really, let's say follow the rules. But at the same time, it's like when you've been through so much with a person, it kind of I'll support them till the day they die. And it's like, that's how this relationship kind of ended up going.
Which is why I think with breaking the code, which is why I think Obi-Wan didn't bust Anakin, because he was doing the same thing with a certain other character we saw in the Clone Wars. Because he said, if you said the word, I would have left the Jedi. I would have left the Jedi code. I would have left everything. So he knew he was partly also breaking the code. So why would you bust your Padawan for what the Masters also do? So definitely a lot of hypocritical stuff there. Kirstie Wilson says, remember in Revenge of the Sith, Padme told Obi-Wan that she felt there was still good in Anakin. But how could she feel that, though? She doesn't have it's just on her emotions at that point. She's not a force wielder, so it's just on her emotions. Because at some point, I think we know this, whether it's when we watch movies or in real life, we get into denial. Oh, I hope that this is going to happen or this is going to happen. Just like in a certain movie that people saw that were disappointed, and it didn't happen. So honestly, it had to be based on emotions at that point, because she's a huge enabler after Obi-Wan told him, stay there. She's like, nope. And of course, he follows her because he's attracted to her and has been since episode 2. So definitely a whole thing there. But Trevor, this next one, it has to be personal. Like, I don't know. We know, at least some of us know what the Inquisitors were. So, folks, if you are just now getting into Star Wars, those are people that Darth Vader sends out to hunt out the so-called remaining Jedi after Episode 3. Order 66 was into effect. Trevor, I don't know much about this Inquisitor, but what do you think about this that makes this seem just so personal, especially what we've seen in the trailer?
I think this, I guess, shot alone is showing that an escape is happening because it looks like the Inquisitor's running after them, and looks like there's blaster fire. From what I can get from this, still image, obviously the trailer can give us a little bit more insight, but at the same time, that's not the case for this Star Wars trailer. Because I know we talked about in other trailers, John, where sometimes the trailer gives you the whole movie, but without the details. But for this trailer, we didn't get much details to really tell you how this story is going to be told. We know Obi-Wan's being hunted down, and the Inquisitors put a bounty on him. Like, anybody can get this Jedi. Like, there's high stakes and high value in this hunt. But that's all we get from most of this trailer. We don't know how he's going to get captured or anything, but they're going to get, like I know in another image that you have, to bring him back to this tower that's in the middle of an ocean.
That's what I love, even though I'm very patient. I'm glad they're not revealing a whole lot when it comes to the show, unlike certain other movies or TV shows, but that's neither here nor there. Tim, the character you're thinking of in the Fallen Order game, I believe her name was Trilla, who is under Seer, and obviously that's a whole nother thing. You can go check out that game right there. It would have to be an escape because you see in the background, it looks like some of those ships are coming, like they're leaving. They're trying to hunt down after Obi-Wan. So I wonder if this is in the similar episode to when Obi-Wan is giving himself up or is under arrest or under whatever you want to call that. And then maybe Darth Vader lets him go. Who else would be escaping? Obi-Wan Kenobi is the only one that is pretty much a Jedi or Star Wars felon at this point. But I don't know much about her because I believe, wasn't it in the trailer? I think we'll go through this soon. We have another Grand Inquisitor, the one that looks very similar to the one in, I believe, the Clone Wars, I think. Honestly, I don't know what's going on, but I'm so glad we don't know what's happening yet. Christy Wilson says that female Inquisitor scares me. She does, because you also see in the trailer that you can't beat him. But yet, the only person to beat Anakin was himself. So I wonder how much is she obviously there's a ton of Grand Inquisitors, but she the right-hand Inquisitor to Darth Vader. What else do you know of Darth Vader outside of him just being this powerful being in the Force?
Though I feel like looking at the Inquisitors, they all probably have faced Darth Vader at one point or another before they became Inquisitors. So that's where they probably end up realizing you can't beat this guy. This guy will physically beat you to the ground. And know how strong Darth Vader is when he's full in rage. So probably before he even goes down and hunts these Jedis, the Emperor probably tortures him, saying, you got to get these Jedis. And if you fail, you get tortured even more. So it's no matter what you even doing for Darth Vader, it's a lose-lose scenario. The only thing you got to do is bring back Jedi and convert them to the dark side. If not, you kill them. That's basically the motto that they're following at that point.
That's essentially what's been happening, what we saw in the original trilogy to now. But hurry up, Kenobi series, because at this point, I can't wait to see what happens. Just seeing them, I think, together, though, Hayden Christian and Kenobi and everybody, is great to see them again. But to the fans that were very, not critical, but being complete jerks, y'all, we don't take y'all as Star Wars fans because we can have a difference of opinion when it comes to Star Wars, and that's okay. That's the whole point of our podcast. It's the whole point of the network. And people that were shaming him and, the acting was so bad, or not, where is that now? Now there's a love for episodes 1, 2, and 3. So good to see them. Definitely, again, for sure. Trevor, this next one, I have a funny feeling this is in the same episode. I believe we talked about this underwater. We saw this in the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order video game. Now, I highly doubt that it is in the same, bless you, in the same area as it was in the video game. But I wonder if you see this ship, I wonder if this is the same episode or right before they're about to capture Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I really don't know, because it's like we could be referencing this planet a whole bunch, and this just could be the Grand Inquisitors meeting to talk or about to go out to go get him. So I really don't know how this scene's being taken, because like you said, John, it could be them bringing Obi-Wan to here, or we could be arriving the Grand Inquisitors to this facility. So I really don't know based on the context we were given for this. Oh, John, you're muted, by the way.
I wonder if it's a regroup, because you saw earlier in the trailers, I don't believe we have the screenshot here, where you see, I believe, one of the Grand Inquisitors in the city, and they're just staring at a bunch of these citizens. I wonder if that time they try to capture Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it obviously doesn't work. They're not able to find him. The bounty is still on his head. So when they regroup, they get back together, and then they maybe see in episode 4 or 5, I don't know, because these are like an hour long each, then where we go back to what we see here. I wonder what we see here in this one happens before or after this scene right here. Because at that point, that has to be the pivotal part of the series where, yeah, like, obviously not going to kill Obi-Wan. So either you're going to let him go because there's still a part of Anakin inside you. Because he doesn't kill him until episode. This is a couple years before A New Hope. So either he lets him go because there's still part of Anakin inside him, or honestly, that's the only option I can see at this point in time.
Oh yeah, it's really going to be tough as this develops. So can't wait to see what comes up. Can't see. I seriously can't see, but I'm just curious how these writers are going to piece together this story in 6 episodes, about an hour long, like I think we know. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, just 6 episodes to tell a story that could probably be, in my eyes, maybe 8 to 12, give or take on how you want to tell the story for this. Give or take of like how many episodes you want to put in, how much for character development. But I think us fans, we would rather have a 12-season episode for this.
Yep.
Sure, we may have like a few dud episodes in there, like maybe 2. But I feel like you're going to need that when you have something that is this big and there's going to be a lot of action, but you need to bring the audience back, because there could be a traumatic event. And then it's like, all right, we got to bring this, like, make fun-hearted and laugh a little bit and then get back serious again. So it's like finding that dynamic. But when you only have 6 episodes, you got to get straight to the point. There is no filler episodes where you can joke around. You're telling the story from start to finish in 6 hours. So it's like, tell me a story, John, in 6 hours. After 6 hours, I'm not listening anymore. Something like that.
Which is why I've been not necessarily concerned for the series. I wonder, they're bringing back stuff that's familiar, but also introducing stuff that is new. We barely see the Grand Inquisitors in the Clone Wars, so now we're going to see more of that. Like I said, with Boba Fett, it was just telling his story. Great, his story's over. Makes sense. Boom, move on. And now, Obi-Wan, this is still a few years before A New Hope. So I kind of wonder how that puts together with killing him in A New Hope to what this series is. Since it's limited, like I said, it's only 6 episodes. That's been, I guess you could say, the pet peeve, especially when you're introducing new characters that people aren't necessarily familiar with or you haven't seen live action. That definitely is a little bit concerning there, but I think maybe Christy Wilson shares similar opinions here. 6 episodes are not enough for me, in my opinion. Said the same thing with Marvel, said the same thing, I think, with Star Wars, outside of the Mandalorian's 8 episodes for the first 2 seasons. But honestly, I trust him. I just don't know how you're going to fit everything into 6 episodes, especially when you're introducing characters into the live action series of the Star Wars cinematic universe. But more trauma is coming, and more trauma is coming. Obi-Wan Kenobi has a bounty on his head, Trevor.
Yep, John, that bounty right there. What's that price right there? I can have enough to buy me an X-Wing with that if I can bring them in.
Hey, if it's enough to buy an X-wing and a ton of blue milk, I'll kill him myself and bring the bounty in.
They probably want him alive. You know, we're going to be like Mandalorians. You know, we're going to bring them in hot or we're going to bring them in cold.
I mean, thankfully, you know what? Now that you mentioned hot or cold, now that we know that you kill younglings, I think you would be the one to bring him in because I don't think you're a Jedi at this point.
You're probably going to classify me as a bounty hunter. I could see it now. Give me a Mandalorian outfit and we'll call it even.
You're pulling a Palpatine in terms of you have this very nice and calming personality. Use that laugh to your advantage, but when it's time to strike, boom, you strike. And that was a little concerning here, but that's all good and fun. I just wonder though. Obviously, I have no idea what this means, but obviously, just like in the Lego Star Wars video game, it translates to something. Obviously, I would assume that's his name. I wonder how much they would offer and what citizens or new characters they could bring and will bring in this series to help work with, of course, the Empire, but obviously, or the First Order. We will have to find out. Callan, I think Trevor and I are definitely excited for this one. Ahsoka began production today. It's about time. It is about time we get the Ahsoka series. For Trevor, we both watched the Clone Wars. I know we keep mentioning that, but now it's this story of the live-action Ahsoka. What are your theories per se? Because we don't know anything about the show just yet.
I feel like the only thing that I can get, I shouldn't say get, like it's really, well, I think there's one storyline that we were probably going to see. It's bringing back Ezra from Rebels. I think this is what the story is going to be going for. If it's not, then I have no idea what this story is actually going to be. Like that is the biggest plot that needs to be resolved. And that's where Rebels left us. And that was it. They said at the Battle of Endor, Ahsoka arrives to Lothal, picks up Sabine, and they're going to bring back Ezra. That's all we got. And now the live action probably can do us justice of, seeing Ezra, seeing Thrawn even. The list goes on with all those characters. But like how that series ended, that's where I'm thinking this production is going. If it doesn't go somewhere else, well, then the writers have some work to do to convince us that this was the right pathway. Maybe there's filler episodes before that. Maybe it's finding clues what the first season is going to be to find Ezra. That's completely fine because we don't know where the I guess those space whales, we'll call them, took the Star Destroyer after they jumped to hyperspace. We know nothing about that. All we know, there's a certain frequency to bring them and to call them in. That's it. That's all we know about those creatures.
There's been flashbacks in previous shows. There has to be. We saw the Book of Boba Fett. I think we have to have those type of flashbacks. If we don't see Rex in live action, obviously he's going to die sooner. He's super old. But you got to maybe bring that character to a close. Because if you're saying, again, I know we can misinterpret quotes or just have our Star Wars hope. But if you're saying that if you're a fan of the Clone Wars, you're going to love this show. So you would have to bring Rex in. They got connected towards the end of Rebels, and we know the whole story of that. I don't really know where this is going to go. That would have to be the best point. They leave Darth Vader, what's left of Anakin, sees the lightsaber, maybe see if he was the Force in that, but knows that he's too far gone. I'm excited for the show. She's my new favorite character. I just don't understand where this is going to go in terms of, really anything at this point in time, but I wonder what kind of trauma we're definitely going to get here on the Ahsoka Disney Plus series. Kirstie Wilson says Ahsoka is on her way. Good. Hats off to her. She's one of the only few Jedi that we know of so far that, despite what she went through, doesn't turn to the dark side, unlike a certain person that we will not name because, we will let the First Order take care of them. Cough, cough, Mr. Williams. Kirstie Wilson also says, I wonder what actor would play Ezra. Good point. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And then I remember there was like rumors like early on like even before Ahsoka was like greenlit. I know they were teasing that Robert Downey Jr. could play Thrawn. I'm like, I could see it, but at the same time, his just payout is just so much. And I'm like thinking, can you really finesse him as Thrawn? Like I would say he will pull it off because he's very smart, because we saw him in Iron Man, very strategical. So it would fit him in that role, and I know he can do it. But at the same time, just like if you watched Rebels, his voice, I wouldn't say calm, but it's very just like, I don't know how to just really describe it. Like you just got to watch Rebels to really understand how his voice is, and just like saying, this guy is smart and he will outsmart you. Sure, you try to be one step ahead of him, but he is like 2 to 3 steps ahead of you. So he's already planned everything out, what you're going to do. He basically sets you up for a trap, and he does it. He executes it.
With the continued situation of Kevin Feige working on the Star Wars movie, which we got some more, I say more news, it's pretty much the same thing, but Kevin Feige is going to be working on a Star Wars movie. So I wonder in the future if they do announce anything, how that ties into the future of Ahsoka, after Ahsoka, whatever TV shows come after that. Tim Fielder also says we don't know what side he's on yet, so we'll have to see that for another time. Before Ahsoka, everyone needs to watch season 7 of the Clone Wars. Preach it, Pastor Tim. Come on, you have to watch season 7. But make sure to have a therapist on dial right after, because I was telling Trevor, I was all excited for the show. And, well, I can never watch it again. But that's neither here nor there. But what are your quick thoughts, obviously, about what Tim said about the importance of season 7 before we continue on with the show?
I think you have to watch season 7 of the Clone Wars to really gain this understanding where how basically Revenge of the Sith gets underway, and how it all builds up to that climactical point. And the beauty of season 7 is it ties everything together. It makes it a nice way to end the Clone Wars, I would say. From when the first season all the way through like 6, you got everything that you needed. But then at the same time, we heard stories, the Battle of Mandalore. So it's like, are we gonna see that? You hear reference of people talking about it and all that stuff, and then they put it in the Clone Wars season 7. It was phenomenal. I guess Mandalore had 2 battles during the Clone Wars, when Maul took over, and then the Republic going in trying to relieve Mandalore of what's going on. So that type of thing. But it's just so beautiful of how it starts and ends. Like I think there was, remember something that came out showing that they put the, TV show in order to watch. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how I'm going to watch that. It's long. I think it took me almost like 2 to 3 weeks, almost 2.5 weeks, I would say.
Rookie numbers now.
Rookie numbers, yes. Yeah, rookie numbers, John, to watch the entire Clone Wars. But it was work. I think there's a certain part where it's just like, wow, it feels long, but as you get to develop with the characters and see all that goes into it, it's definitely worth the watch from start to finish.
It'll probably be a couple of years before I can watch it again. Just obviously how to tell the story. And I think it really continues to show the emotional damage of Order 66, because we see in episode 3, we see them turning against the Jedi. We don't know why. They explain that. You put the all that. But as to the damage, because there's that scene. I won't. For people that haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it. But again, in a year or two, we'll talk about that after the Ahsoka, where you see these 2 characters who have grown up since she became a part of the Jedi Order, and he's trying to decide whether to, how do I say this? A certain pivotal character in the Clone Wars. Bless you. But it's definitely super powerful there. George Lucas, I don't know anybody that's there. A ton of therapy. That's all you need to say after any new Star Wars show. Definitely go see a therapist. Callum McClurg, so we know his Jedi name. Looking forward to seeing Rosario Dawson reprise her role as Ahsoka. We saw her, Trevor, in The Mandalorian, in the Book of Boba Fett. Which scenes, before we continue on, do you think were really pivotal into the Star Wars series, whether it's the season 2 or that episode in episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett?
I really don't know. I want to say when we first introduced Ahsoka from The Mandalorian, I think that's kind of like saying, all right, Ahsoka's back. She has an epic showdown with an Imperial, I guess, lord of the planet that is currently being run. So we saw a great fight in that. But I think with the Book of Boba Fett, knowing that she knows where Luke Skywalker is kind of impressive, I would say. It's a nice spin. It's like she knows who Luke Skywalker is. And in her TV show, we're going to see, are they going to have a more developed of a relationship that we never really seen up until this point? Because we don't know much between 6 and 7. It's very, very large in span of years, because I think the Battle of Jakku is 70 years after the Battle of Endor. So there's a lot of time span where Ahsoka and Luke get together and talk. And I'm assuming Ahsoka is still alive at least the next 30 to 40 years within that time span. I'm not too sure how long her species lives for. So that's what I'm getting a hint at. But we'll see how, like I said, what the writers come up with in her, how many episodes they ever give this series, I would say.
Especially when they introduced her. She was about 13 to 14. So between the Clone Wars, she was 13, I think, at the beginning. If it don't misquote me. But between 13 and 14. Towards the end, she was about 16. So let's just say a ballpark. She's probably
in her 30s, like mid-30s.
To see her, it's great to see her and rewatch those episodes, which I really wish I watched the Clone Wars before The Mandalorian came out. But just seeing her again, I think is really cool. But that one scene, though, and regardless of what we think of the Book of Boba Fett, when she's talking with Luke and she says, "You're just like his father. Remind me so much of your father." And that, to me, is a huge Star Wars element. It goes back to where you see a little bit of just like his heart's moving a certain way. Luke's heart's going one way or the other. He's getting a little impatient because he's seeing not what he wants to see, just like what Anakin didn't want and didn't get what he wanted to see, becoming a Jedi Master. So that, I thought, was a little bit of a pivotal, emotional moment right there. This next one, though, Trevor, I imagine this is probably before what we see here and maybe around this part. Don't know what the episode, you see this screenshot here, kind of what do you think they're trying to plan, or how do you think this evolves in the series from what we know so far?
Well, it'd be funny if it was Tatooine.
Oh my god, no more sand people. Don't you dare. No. Sure.
But I don't think that's gonna be Tatooine at the map that they're showing. If it is, that would be hilarious. And I feel like we're gonna look back at this episode saying, "Wow, you were right. You call that was Tatooine." But I want to say it's not Tatooine. But I can see there's 2 moons, so I really don't know what this could actually be. I could be interesting, but at the same time, it's not Tatooine. Let's. I'm just gonna say it out there. It's not.
No more. Well, we know we're getting Tatooine because that's where.
Is that a second Inquisitor? Well, I guess the third Inquisitor that we don't really know much about.
Because that other Inquisitor we don't see in the trailer. Because the other one we see, and the one the screenshots will show y'all, I believe, and I keep coming back to this, but I believe he was in the Clone Wars. He was.
So the one that's, I would say, go back to the picture again, John. So the one next to the Imperial officer, we've seen him in Rebels. So we know that's who I think that is the 5th brother. I'm not too sure. That's who it is. But then you have next to the other one, then one to the left of the other Inquisitor that we've seen already so far. The one to the farthest left of the screen, next to the Stormtrooper in the back that you can see his helmet completely. We don't know who that Inquisitor is. Don't know much about it. We only see her in this one scene. So, Mystery Inquisitor number 3, we're going to call her.
Honestly, I don't know. But yeah, that's the 5th brother thing you were talking about. That's exactly what I was trying to think of. We know what he's about, just killing like some of the other people in the Empire. Honestly, kind of quickly looking over this, I wonder if, obviously, they're trying to find Obi-Wan and trying to find who they can manipulate, use their scare tactics, or sell weapons. I don't know. But at this point, I would rather enjoy the mystery of not knowing certain things, just because there's so much, I think, to introduce, whether it's, like you said, filler, which they don't have a lot of time. And I think all of us are waiting, regardless of what happens in this right here, or right here. We're all waiting. Despite this going to be a great show. The showdown between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker. It's the last time they met. was the first time that I, of course, was introduced to Star Wars. This one, though, is probably one of the biggest emotional damages in the trailer. Uncle Owen, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You see this, Trevor. You trained his father. How do you think this conversation is really gonna go? Obviously, we see the trailer, and kind of what do you think both Uncle Owen's and Obi-Wan Kenobi's mindset is right here?
I feel like it's like Obi-Wan, like they both know Luke has the Force. And at the age, like Obi-Wan says, he's gonna have to be trained, whether you like it or not. But Uncle Owen is like saying, like how you trained his father. It's like you're basically building up the second Darth Vader. And why am I gonna let you do that?
Since we see the young Luke in the trailer, you would have to see a young Leia. That to me would be the only logical way, because they've been trying to hide him from the Force, which is why we go back to A New Hope, where you see Luke is, I'm gonna go stay with this Ben Kenobi, and they're like, yeah, don't do that. They're trying to prevent you because they know exactly what happened to his father, and they're afraid what's gonna happen to Luke. They're afraid what happened to Anakin, what's gonna happen to Luke. Honestly, it's great to see Uncle Owen back. I don't know. I wonder. I don't blame him. Now, again, he doesn't necessarily understand what it was like. But again, also, Obi-Wan was the same person who also violated the Jedi Order. So did Anakin. So did so many other people. And, of course, Yoda also saw what it would have been like if none of that happened. Very peaceful. Honestly, I'm kind of curious. I want to see I don't know if it's like a training montage or flashbacks or something, getting to see the transition from Luke to what he is then to what he becomes now. Like, what far the mindset? So this is what I think a couple years before New Hope, and do they set him up as still training as a Jedi, and then it sets up into A New Hope where he actually gets trained by Yoda? Because clearly Yoda is the one that trains him into the Force. So I wonder how much is Luke really going to play into the series?
I want to say it's probably going to be like the last 25% of the episode, well, not the episode, the series, unless there's season 2. So it's really hard to tell like how this first season is going to end, where it's like, okay, we're going to see the point where it's an easy transition to A New Hope, or it's like, well, we could get a possible second season and continue to build out this story and add more characters that could add on to more Star Wars stories. So they could also do that route, but at the same time, are we going to get a second season? I think that would be the first, I guess, question that we have to end up solving once we finish this series.
That, I think, is definitely the biggest question, especially when you see the first trailer, which is kind of what they bring into the second, when he watches Luke from a distance. So I wonder, him watching Luke from a distance happens, I would say, a couple episodes before, or in the same, and then maybe the same episode. There may be that first filler episode, like you talked about, Trevor, just to reinvent, or not reinvent, but reintroduce things to set kind of what's happening. But I definitely wonder how much of Luke they show in the series, considering he does get trained by Yoda. Next one, though, of course, the Skywalker himself, unlike Rey. We already talked about this. We can give our final thoughts on it if you would like. What do you think, now that we know about the Star Wars Cinematic Universe, what do you think is going on for Obi-Wan's head and his mindset, and kind of where the Jedi go moving forward?
Looking at this scene alone, John, it's like Obi-Wan is just keeping an eye on Luke to see if he accidentally, I would say, number one, obviously protecting him. But number two, if he accidentally discovers the Force, and at that point he has to confront Uncle Owen, saying, "It's time. I have to take him."
100%, because it also shows in the trailer, or I think Obi-Wan, probably this happens right before or after this scene, because Obi-Wan says when the time comes, he must be trained. And of course, Uncle Owen says, like you trained his father. So I imagine it's either in that episode or towards the end as they're getting that build up and he gets that training. Well, where it goes from there, don't know. But I'll be kind of curious to see, like, would we love a season 2? Yes, because at some point this is going to end at episode 4. How? Don't know, because we can't have any tragic deaths in the show. I'm watching y'all. No tragic deaths in this show. If you do, honestly, I'm probably just going to cry like a little baby. I don't know. I just don't see any tragic deaths happening. But that's the tragic part about Filoni and all those people here. You never know. The Grand Inquisitor, the 5th brother, is finally here in the trailer. I believe that's the one, Trevor, we saw earlier in this screenshot here. I could be wrong. That is,
I think it's the same one.
So I wonder, you see these, you see the Grand Inquisitor, the ship, honestly looks kind of cool. Even though I said no more Tatooine.
It's going to be a Lego figure. I can see it now.
No, but you see this. Yes, we've seen a ton of Tatooine, but the camera shot, the lens, everything just looks really, really good. What part of this, how do you feel about this screenshot? How do you think it pivots into seeing what happens here and here?
I think somebody gives up Obi-Wan and brings them here. Somebody does something to make this scene happen. I don't know what triggers it, or is somebody lower level or somebody close to Obi-Wan to kick this off, and that's how they end up coming. I think that's the only way.
This is the way. This has to be the only way. We've seen this before when you grip by fear, and they use the same fear tactic over and over and over. They try to get that to Luke in Empire Strikes Back. It obviously doesn't work. They did it to Anakin. It didn't work to Obi-Wan. Again, at some point, I wonder, I don't know. I'm just beyond excited for a series, and I don't know if you're like this way when you get this way when I get excited for a series. Like, I'm trying to predict what may happen, but at this point, I'm just like, hurry up, let's just get to it. But I know there were criticisms about the Grand Inquisitor of how he looks in that first trailer, but seeing it here, though, I'll look at it one more time, that shot looks pretty clean. So I don't think we're going to see there was criticism moving forward, just like we saw, I believe, in the Sonic movie. That's very quick tip where, people criticized the look of it. They changed it. Looks fine. But I think here looks fine. Looks great. It's great to see more and more Clone Wars and Star Wars characters come into live action.
Oh, for sure, John. I think just looking at his character alone, obviously the close-ups weren't pretty because I know some people on Twitter are ruthless and how they compared him to certain people and to certain characters and certain fictional characters. But nonetheless, I think it's tough to actually bring an animated, I guess, TV show character into live action. It's never been easy. People always bash those characters being transitioned. But then after they're created, sometimes they become our most beloved characters. So it's going to be interesting how this the role of the Grand Inquisitor is going to unfold. But at the same time, I'll just say, John, Twitter was ruthless, and they called him Humpty Dumpty because of it.
I'm sorry. That's
I was trying to hold it back as best I could.
Hey,
but John,
he's just like the Jedi Fallen Order. They fell. I guess we know what Humpty Dumpty and the Jedi have in common. They both fall, but that's neither here nor there. But I definitely agree with that. Bringing that to life action isn't necessarily the same thing. We saw that exist with Ahsoka from the Clone Wars to the Mandalorian Season 2, where you can bring the anime character to life, and it's great to have a cool character. But if you don't have the right writing and people have the right futuristic mindset, then it's not going to matter. They did similar to what we did with Ahsoka in terms of how they approach it, to where don't do anything too crazy, but do similar things. Or kind of like not a spinoff, but a continuation from the Clone Wars to live action. I trust them. I think we'll be fine. If this was anyone else in certain movies, then I'd be okay, I get it. But I think when you have Dave, when you have with George Lucas's mindset, Jon Favreau and all those guys, I think we're going to be fine. I would hope that Book of Boba Fett was a one-off to we're not going to have the same thing in terms of what they did in Book of Boba Fett here. So last one, though, again, Kirsten Wilson talks about introducing new planets. We searched the planet. I have no idea how to pronounce that, Trevor.
I don't even know. I feel like the last part is like you or something like. But it's like day-you. I don't even know. This is why we're not English majors, John.
Yeah, this is why I'm going into sports media, not English. You see this. how do you feel this plays out into the series, into what we see? I believe you see the screenshot here with one of the Grand Inquisitors, and you see the screenshot here. Do you think this is also that same episode, that pivotal moment, to where we also see in the trailer a character that looks like one of Darth Maul's brothers fighting him in prison?
I think, John, go back to the very first picture that we had with Obi-Wan.
Sure. Oh, I think I see where you're going with this.
I think it's within that city. It's right here.
That's a good point.
That's where I'm thinking how this one is going to end up fitting in. I think, sure, I like this whole spaceship idea that he's being captured, but like looking at how that city is and then seeing like potential spots like to hold freight, I'm thinking it has to be somewhere within this planet. And I know it's probably with a lot of crime, and it's a city, and it looks like a casino city. So it's like a lot of bounty hunters are going to be there. And that's where I think within the trailer, if you listen to the audio, is where like they send everybody after Obi-Wan. So I want to say this broadcast probably happens in that planet.
You know, that's a good point. They're very similar color schemes, different like atmosphere. I kind of like this though. It reminds me though a little bit of episode 2 in terms, not necessarily because I believe it's a new city. I'm still trying to learn the comics and the books. It reminds me a little bit of episode 2 there. So I wonder if this screenshot right here, whatever episode it is, I believe it's probably going to be episode 2 in my thoughts or opinions. There have been links up there. I haven't seen them. I'm not looking at them. But I wonder, we had that first episode bringing Obi-Wan back and reintroducing certain characters. And then the beginning of episode 2, you see the stormtroopers, you see them regrouping after what we see in this screenshot right here. I'm planning to see where Obi-Wan is. They maybe have some leads. And then, of course, they go to this planet right here, Dayu. I don't know. That sounds like a foreign deodorant, but again, I'm not going to pronounce the things. But I wonder how all this plays out. I don't know how much left. I'll be on too excited for this. But Trevor, do you have any final what-if thoughts or final thoughts before we kind of start to wrap this up for tonight's Across the Galaxy Star Wars podcast?
I think there's just so much to pack in. And like you said, John, me and you are both worried that 6 episodes is not enough. Mm-hmm. And they're already dropping 2 episodes on the release date. So breaking that down, we only have 4 episodes left. And as scary as that is, it's like you drop 2 episodes. We're going to see how this thing goes. I know the first episode, we're understanding where Obi-Wan is, and we're probably going to get another Order 66 moment where we're going to have to relive through that. More trauma for a lot of us fans. They just keep shoving it in our face because that's what they think what we want. But no, we actually want a good character development. We don't need more trauma watching our favorite heroes die from our beloved clone troopers over and over again. I think we get the point. But at the same time, I think it's going to be something that we're going to love, we're going to cherish, and we're going to look back on it and saying, wow, they did it right in 6 episodes. And I'd be satisfied, if they do it right and they can finish all they have to tell. I feel like you can also build off of it, but it's not like how the Book of Boba Fett ended where it's like they can't add any more to this character, but make him besides a side character. That's what I want to go, like, keep adding to this universe. Don't stop. Let's say you can end the series there with one character, but you may pick up with another. I think that's what we can kind of need with this, because we know the fate of Obi-Wan at the end of, I guess, at the very early stages of episode 4. So if we can set something that where it gets close to that point, perfectly fine if that's how you want to leave his story. But you can't do it in 6 episodes. You got to give me a second season at least if you want to do something like that.
There has to be, especially with what they're reintroducing and then introducing new characters. You see the 5th brother, you see the Inquisitor, everything. Honestly, final thoughts. That to me is concerning because they get 2 episodes. But like, what is the point? We talked about this when this happened. What is the point of release if taking it from Wednesday to Friday, you put out 2 episodes, and then you go back to the originally scheduled Wednesday? Like, that to me doesn't make any sense because it's after the month of, presumptually, it is next Friday. Today is what, the 11th.
Yes.
So essentially, the series is going to be 80% done by the end of May. And that to me is very concerning. Like, why we in a rush? Yes, I want to see the series so freaking much and want to see Hayden Christian back as Anakin, but at what cost? And so I think that hopefully they can answer those questions. But honestly, it's perfect time. We should have released it May 25th. That would have been perfect. Unfortunately, they decided to go the other way for whatever reason. But Trevor, thank you all so much for tuning in. We have Christy, Tim Fielder, Calvin McClure with his thoughts right here. Obviously, Christy, we agree the female Inquisitor does scare me. With all her anger we see in the trailer, I kind of wonder what she does, but I'm pretty sure, in my opinion, she could be a lot more scary than Trilla. We also thank the Intergalactic Network for tuning in. Jedi Master Alcorn, Trevor, I'm not sure what side he's on just yet, so we will figure that out in the Senate in just a few moments. We will see y'all later. Have a good one, and can't wait for next week as we do our potential thoughts for episode 1, then episode 2. We will see y'all later. Have a good one.
I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic